Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Code Enforcement Nuisance Board of the City of Bowling Green, Kentucky, February 23rd, 2016, shortly after 5 p.m. Here in the City Hall Commission chambers. We have the roll call, please.
Deere.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Dearbone.
Yes.
Wilder.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes. You've all received the minutes and the other materials in the packet, I believe, this weekend. Are there any additions, changes, corrections?
Approve. Second.
Simpson. Deere. Deere.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Dearbone.
Yes.
Wilder.
Abstain.
Thomas.
Yes. Okay, and we have the swearing in the officers. Would you please rise and raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Any announcements or comments from the board? Okay. The hearing agenda and appeals will start on code enforcement with old business, case number 1. The case is number 2015-3418, and the citation is 2015-2674-2340 Russellville Road. Owner, YB&R Investments, LLC. Respondent is Mr. Don Minton. Brad Shargorodowski, is that closer?
Much closer.
All right, I've been practicing all week. All right, you want to bring us up to date, Brad?
Just to summarize, at the last meeting on January 26th, the board tabled a decision on the $9,900 in per-day fines and ordered that Mr. Minton bring a definitive plan in writing to the board meeting today outlining how and when the violations will be abated on this property. As of today, the case has been open for 201 days, and pretty much the best way I can summarize it is the trailer park and the trailers are still there.
Thank you. Ben, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay?
After our last meeting, I went to Hunt Realty. I don't know if it was the next day or the day after that. They were the ones that had contacted an individual to come in and he could remove some of the mobile homes. They didn't have all the facts down. They didn't have they couldn't tell me what it would cost me per home. Only thing they told me that he wanted me to furnish a dumpster. He would come in and scrap as much as he could of the mobile homes and put the rest in the dumpster. I contacted him a couple of other times this month, but it's been a bad month for me, like it seems like it has all the time. But anyway, I contacted Jeff today. The way he talked, the gentleman scrap had went down, and he wouldn't give him a price on it, is what he told me. I don't know. I left that for him to discuss. I told him the day after our last meeting that y'all wanted him to come in and we needed to do something. But since then, I've talked to Brad there and I've put an ad in the Park City Daily News for mobile homes for sale. I've got quite a response on the mobile homes to purchase, but the majority of the people wanted to know if they could fix them up and leave them there in the park. Brad told me that he'd have to, that I'd have to put the thing before you at the next meeting, or tonight's meeting. So that's about where I stand on that. Of course, the weather was bad, a few days in this month. But anyway, I don't want to pass the buck to Tommy and Jeff, but I did talk to them, and they haven't got back to me, And matter of fact, when I talked to Jeff today, he said he was getting ready to have an auction, and it'd take a couple hours, and this was around 12:30, and he said he'd get back to me, and I haven't heard anything from him since.
Mr. Minton, do you have a plan in writing?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay.
Like I said, they haven't told me anything. They said they would get back with me. They were gonna get in touch with the guy that they had talked, and, the way Jeff talked today, that they were gonna be in charge of it, but he said he'd just have to get back in touch with me.
Did they realize the significance of the importance of today's meeting in terms of what actions might be taken by this board? I mean, did you tell them, I need to have something in writing within 10 days or a week, or I need to have a contract that I can sign and produce for these people as evidence that we're going to do something about this? Did you have that conversation at all?
Well, I just told them that I'd contacted y'all or at the board meeting, and that, you know, y'all needed a plan and thing that we needed to do, and, you know, I'm sorry. I just had my mother in the hospital again, and like I said, I'm not worth 2 cents of doing anything anyway. But, yeah, you know, like I said, I've contacted them 2 or 3 times, and, like I said, I went on and put the ad in the paper to see what we could do with that. And I've got several people supposed to call me back tomorrow. I mean, I've been telling everybody that, you know, they wanted to know if the mobile homes could remain there. And I told them
You may have mentioned this before. Did Tommy give you an idea of how much it's going to cost you
No, he didn't.
to, well, as a part of your dealing with him in a business kind of, isn't that important that you know how much?
It is,
Before
and
you can move
that's what I asked him. And like I said, when I talked to Jeff today, Jeff said that, and they haven't informed me who they even talked to. They just said that they had got this gentleman to do several things for him once before. He had a backhoe and equipment to do that, and he come in and looked at all the mobile homes and didn't give them a definitive price then, is what I'm understanding. And when I talked to Jeff today, he talked like scrap had went down, and he didn't know if he was even interested in doing it now or not. I don't know.
So now, Mr. Minton, you said that you had talked to them right after this meeting, and then you talked again to them today.
Yeah.
Was there any communication in those 3 weeks in between?
A couple of times I contacted them, but, you know, it's, they have presented me with a couple offers for the property, you know, but they were substantially lower than what the asking price is. And, again, I've been under the weather, and I just, I don't know what to tell you. I just, you know, and I appreciate you guys going along with me and trying to do this, but like I said, Jeff was supposed to call me back again today, because I was going to try to get him to come to the meeting tonight, you know, because that's what y'all ask of one of them. But Jeff is who I've been talking to.
Excuse me, Mr. Dearborn, for interrupting, but Mr. Minton, did you say you got 2 offers on the property?
Yes, I did.
Did you counter either one of those offers?
Yes.
You did counter? And what
As a
was?
matter of fact, I even offered to finance it, and then they came back and said the guy could get so much money at the bank, and, you know, that's payment he could charge, and, you know, he couldn't afford anything else. I mean, that's the last, but, you know, and then Jeff mentioned something today that they had somebody, again, looking at it, you know.
But you did have 2 offers
I had
on
2
the
offers,
property?
yes, sir. I had to go in to the office twice and sign
And you rejected both of them?
rejected both of them, yes, sir.
And you say you did counter?
Yes.
Did the potential buyers reply?
I don't know who the buyers are. They wouldn't tell
No,
me.
you wouldn't necessarily know that,
No.
but did they reply to your counter?
Not to my, well, that's when I told them that I would be able, would think about some owner financing. And then they come back, and then they just wanted to work out something else. But again, I mean, it's only been on the market for 6 weeks, 2 months. hasn't been that long that it's been on the market. And I don't look for it to really do anything until the spring hits.
Well, these per-day fines are really adding up. I don't know if you understand.
Sir,
Grass-
you're talking about tearing down the mobile homes, and of course, I think when they were first written up, it was, windows was missing and doors, and there was nothing else. And we can go in there and fix the doors and windows. Matter of fact, I've replaced some windows and stuff in there. But, again, I called to see if I could keep them there, because the majority of the calls, I'm willing to sell the mobile homes, pretty well. I might even give them away if somebody wanted to come and, if they want to come and take them and remove them, or if they want to. But most of the people that I've talked to want them there at the mobile home park. Of course, they're all set up, ready to go. I mean, they're underpinned. There's not that much that has to be done on several of them. There's 2 or 3 that needs to be tore down completely.
Mr. Minton, has anything changed since our last meeting
About what, sir?
regarding our request to have a contract to kind of have a game plan of what's getting ready, what you're trying to do?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get done. With
I understand we've had, approximately, how many days? 25 days, something like
yeah,
that,
25 days.
to do that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, to be honest with you. Like I said, I went there, and I think we had our last meeting on a Tuesday, and I think it was on a Thursday that I went over there and sat down with Tommy and Jeff both and talked to them about that. And like I said, they're busy men too, and maybe Tommy told me right off that he didn't want to really mess with the mobile homes whatsoever, so that might be one of the things. But I need to know from you guys if I can sell the mobile homes and the people want to leave them there, if they can go in there and, I inform them that they have to meet with you guys, or meet with one of the code officers and see. Which one?
15 days.
But, I'm talking, it's just, nobody wants to talk to you about doing the mobile homes. They're not interested in that older. I don't know what people are supposed to do with older mobile homes. I have called around to see who would move them, how much it cost me to move them, but I don't have any place to move them. I'm in between a rock and a hard place. I mean, this is.
Seems to me that nothing has changed, and that's what I'm trying to get my arms around. That is, nothing has changed since our last meeting. So
I
therefore,
think the last meeting, and I'll read from this, at the 1/26/2016 board meeting, the board tabled a discussion on the $9,900 in per-day fines ordered that Mr. Minton bring a definitive plan in writing to the next board meeting outlining how and when the violations will be abated. And I ask you, I believe, did you understand that? And you said you did.
I'm going to be honest with you, sir. I can't even remember. I'm just. I know I talked to Tamitha. I took her the sales contract over, and I was supposed to. I thought we were going to get something, but I can't remember. I just really don't know. I just can't remember.
Well, considering there's no progress to date with the order of the board, do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we uphold the total of the accrued per-day fines in the amount of $9,900.
I second that.
Gentlemen, please. I mean, I'm going through a lot right now, and I just, you know, I don't know what to do with the mobile homes. I mean, you know, I really and truly don't know what to do unless I, you know, put an ad in the paper to hire somebody myself. But like I said, I thought the real estate company was taking care of it.
Have a motion and due second.
Deere, Simpson. Deere,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Dearbone,
Yes.
Wilder,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes. Does, okay, we'll move on to the second case, 2015-4424. The address is 1777 Holly Drive, Unit A. Owner is KC Enterprises LLC. Emmanuel, you are here? Would you step forward if you'd like to? Brad, would you let him explain what he's got, then we'll ask your testimony.
At the last meeting on January 26th, the board put in place a $300 per day fine to run until the property was in compliance. On February 15th, I called Mr. Emmanuel to request his presence at tonight's meeting since I was unable to get in touch with him for the last 130-some days regarding this property, to extend the invitation to make sure that he was here and understand the seriousness of the situation. We discussed the property at length. I explained that there were several fines and citations that had been written on this property, and a per-day fine was levied last month, which would be over $7,000 by this meeting. Mr. Emmanuel said he had been out of town and out of the country for a month, which is the reason that he had not been responsive to code enforcement actions. I explained that this case had been active for more than just a month, and in fact since October, and that he and I had even talked when the case was first opened, in fact the day before that the notice of violation was sent out, about what needed to be done. Mr. Emmanuel then I guess tried to turn the responsibility on me, saying that Mr. Peter Rind, his maintenance man, had called me to find out what needed to be done, but I had never called him back after our last conversation. My notes indicate that on the 8th of January, Mr. Rind had initially called me the first time. He and I did play phone tag back and forth a couple times, leaving messages. However, on the 15th of January, he and I did talk. He said that he had been up on the roof. It didn't look like the rainwater was properly draining from the roof, and that he was going to continue working on things and would call me back if he needed something else. Mr. Emmanuel then tried to turn responsibility towards the tenant, saying the tenant had called him several times, once a week, with different problems, and suggested that maybe I was taking her side, to which I explained that I was impartial. When he and I first spoke in October and talked about the overhang extension that was neglected in a state of decay, the ceiling in the bedroom, bees' nests, and so forth. They were documented and photographed issues. They were not even part of the tenant's original complaint, but rather items that I had discovered during my inspection. Furthermore, the overhang did finally collapse, as the board knows from our prior meetings. The bedroom ceiling has been actively leaking for an extended period of time, and none of those conditions have improved for over 130, almost 140 days. Mr. Emmanuel told me that he has owned property for 12 years and in Bowling Green for 10 years, and he's never been in a situation like this, and normally he's responsive to tenant complaints. I agree with him in the sense that as far as this property goes, I've known of a refrigerator issue, a stove, and a stovetop issue that Mr. Emmanuel and Peter Ryan did take care of very quickly within a day or so, and provided the proper amenities in order to make sure that the tenant had what needed to be taken care of there. But that being said, all of the structural issues are still the same. So again, I confirm with Mr. Emmanuel that he would be here. As of today's writing, as of today, the case has been open 141 days, and it is still in violation. The pictures on the screen in front of you show the exterior of the building. I sent a text message to the tenant. She has not moved out. The tenant on the first floor that initiated this complaint, she has not moved out, but she is out of town due to a death in the family, and she was not able to grant me access to the apartment to get pictures of the interior or to confirm that all of the interior violations are still as they were at our last meeting. However, as you can see, the exterior as of this morning, there's still untreated wood around the windows, peeling and flaking, chipping paint, holes in the exterior walls, broken or windows that are in a state of disrepair. The overhang that was there underneath that window there is still on the ground, and there's still untreated wood and parts of the roof there as well.
Y'all raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. What do you have to say about the condition of the property? And
Well, first of all, I appreciate the opportunity to be here to explain my side of the story. But I do want to apologize that the last meeting or so I was out of town. I was out of the country for an extended period of time. I had death in the family, and there were some other things that needed my attention, so I had to travel back to Africa. So the time he was trying to reach me, he couldn't reach me. I even lost my phone during that period. So, but I know that's my personal issue. But what happened was that when this citation was first received, I have somebody that had been working for me, a handyman. He mentioned his name, Peter Ryan. I called him and gave him a copy of it and requested him to go to the property. Prior to that time, he has always done one thing or the other. This lady will call you on a weekly basis to complain on one thing or the other. He will go there and fix it and take, as he mentioned, the fridge, some other things, the stove. There was always something. I had to even get him a new refrigerator at some point. But I'm not trying to blame the tenant or whatever for this issue, but I do want to know that sometimes you have a problem tenant who is constantly so demanding, and you have to, I don't have somebody on the premise, it's just a 2-unit. And so this guy, Peter, has always responded to such issues to the point that the tenant has his phone number, so if she had any issue, she would call him. And that was supposed to be the case here. And Peter was trying to work with her, but apparently she, I don't know, for whatever reason, she decided to, she's on Section 8, to report it to either Section 8 or the city. And that was when the code enforcement officer went there. I do want to correct one fact that he said about pushing the responsibility. I wasn't trying to blame him or put responsibility or whatever on him or blame the tenant, but I was trying to explain certain basic facts that were going on. I'm aware that Peter tried to contact him to have a plan where this thing could be put in phases, so he would do this and do that at a point in time. And I understand he never got back to. I didn't even realize that he finally spoke with him this month. He said on the 15th. But what happened with Peter, I've not been happy with him. He was supposed to be here. I requested his presence at this meeting so he could explain some of this. He said he couldn't make it. He said his truck broke down, and for an extended period of time, he couldn't do anything. He just now got a van that was loaned to him by a friend, which he's using, and I know that he's been to the property twice. He was there on Monday, and he's doing some work with the window, and he started working on it from inside. But he hasn't been able to get into that property because this lady, again, has been out of town. And the issue, because of the kind of tenant she is, you just can't get into her apartment when she's not there. She will raise dust out of that. She'll make too much trouble. So I try to avoid that and not have anything or even anybody get into her apartment when she's not been there. I've been trying to reach her. But this is all new to me because I've never been in this before. And it was when he called me the other day to request that I be at this meeting that I said I'll make every effort to be here. So I'm just trying to learn how this all works. And I really want to use this opportunity to appeal to the board that whatever may have happened in the past, it's not that I neglected my responsibility or that I'm not cognizant of what needs to be done, but just a lot of things were happening. At the same time, I had some family issues to deal with, and that has more or less taken precedent. But I do want to ask that you tender justice with mercy if you will give me the opportunity and maybe give me a time frame to get this done. I promise you that I will do that. I'm still trying to understand how this all works out because it wasn't my intention. It's never been my goal. Any time that I've received a letter or something saying maybe a tenant left some things, their garbage outside, I've always responded. As a matter of fact, yesterday I spent 3 hours cleaning up the garbage at a property that the tenant left, on the property, and there was a citation about that, and the tenant was not ready to clean it up, so I had to go in there and clean it up because I know it's my property. But and I understand that if it wasn't cleaned up, I'll be the one who would be in violation. I'll be cited, and there'll be a fine for that. So I had to go there for 3 hours, clean up the mess that the tenant left behind. So it's really hard for me coming here to explain this. I have a full-time job. We had done this as a family thing to be able to generate some revenue, but I can assure you that the last couple of this, I've been spending a lot of money on this property, paying for one thing or the other, and it's gotten to a point that we may have to just have an auctioneer sell it out so that I don't have to deal with this. It's really, it's become a nightmare for me and for my family. So again, I want to plead with the board to tender justice with mercy, and if you could give me a plan, and I think Mr. Brad is aware that we've responded to this tenant's previous complaints on several occasions. And of course, when you call a handyman to go and fix on this thing, it does cost a lot of money. But we are prepared to do what we can to correct the violation. And so that's what I just have to say. Thank you.
What dates were you out of the state or out of the country?
The whole of December and maybe up to then when I came back, the whole of first and second week of January, I was out of town. Third week, yeah.
So from mid-December on?
From early December on, yeah. Actually, I think I left on December 4th.
And this goes back to October?
In addition, I had verified when I was on the phone with Emmanuel this last conversation that I was just describing to make sure that his address was correct and he was getting the certified mail from our office. Reason being is that he had signed, our last meeting was January 26th and for the board here, and he had signed, I believe it was 4 or 5 days prior to that, the certified receipt saying that he did get the letter for appearance to be here at that last meeting. But again, was not here, was not present for the meeting last month, so I wanted to verify that he was in fact getting all of the mail from our office and we had the correct address.
You have a mortgage on the property, or is it paid for?
We do have mortgage. In fact, the mortgage is probably 90% or more because it's with Independence Bank, and they do this no whatever down payment thing. That was when we bought the property. That was the only reason, we got it. So yes, we do.
Is this a one-family residence? Do you just have one tenant?
Well, there are 2 tenants, one upstairs, one downstairs. It's the one downstairs that we're having issue with, and she's with Section 8, and she hasn't paid her rent for the past 4 months. And she's been out. I haven't been able to reach her. She locked the place up and just left. She has 2 homes, I understand, in Louisville and here. And I really don't want to comment much about this tenant, but it may be, if you could get some information from Section 8, they'll probably give you more about her.
I don't understand on the Section 8, does that payment come from a outside entity directly to you, or does it go to the renter?
Well, I think the way it's structured that she's supposed to pay part of it, Section 8 pays part. Section 8 was always sending their own part of the check, but she never paid her. She refused to pay her own portion of
They
the.
send it to who?
To us, to me, yeah.
Okay.
But they've not done that for the last month, I guess, maybe partly because of this violation thing, I don't know. I haven't, yeah. So I think the last one they sent was for January.
She's still living in your
She still have
property?
the things are still there, and she just locked it up. I had gone there when I came back sometime in January and met with her and asked when she was moving because she has, they had made the indication she would be moving, and she said she would get back to me, but she never did.
How many citations have you received on this property since you've owned it, or in the last year or so? Do you know?
This may be the second one.
Maybe not 4, 3 or 4?
I don't recall. I know there was one previously when we had a water leak or so, and it was eventually fixed. Yeah. I don't know.
Like water leaking and no hot water and things like that.
Do we have any record of that, past violations?
In this case, there have been 3 citations issued. I believe that there was also a citation issued. Bear with me just a second, I'm checking here. But I believe it was overgrown grass, if I recall correctly. Looks like 2014, I believe the property was cited for overgrown grass.
But that was correct.
When were the 3 citations? Do you have a record?
On this case, yes.
There was one in October and 2 in November. October 5th and October 17th and 13th, I think.
Yeah, the initial notice was sent on October 6th. The first citation was November 13th. Looks like the second citation was November 23rd and then December 4th. So 2 of them were in November, 1 of them was the first week of December.
So those were prior to your leaving?
Which one? The citation?
The citations, October 6th, November 13th, November 23rd, December 4th.
I do know I traveled on December 4th, so I don't know what time. But
Do you understand you're facing up to $9,000 in fines today?
well, I didn't understand that, and that's was when he called me and explained this, and they said, that there's a meeting today.
At the last meeting, you were assessed a $300 per day fine. Did you understand that? Subject to you getting it in compliance?
Well, that's why I'm here to plead with the board, because, like I said, this is all new. We don't have that money. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but if there's anything the board can do, as a first time, this thing is happening this way, I promise you that we'll do whatever we can now that I'm back.
Did you not make that same promise this time a month ago?
That, no,
Didn't
I was
you-
not here a month ago.
Oh, did you okay, I'm sorry.
If the board was to take leniency on you, when could everything be done? When would everything be done?
I would say if you could give me a month, but that would be enough for us to correct everything. And I want to find out what I'll need to do for us to get into the property. Maybe since the tenant is not there, I may have to, I'm not sure if I need to go to the police to, because I don't want to be accused of going in there and, the tenant would do that, knowing fully well the kind of person she is. She's a single mom, she lives by, and she will accuse me of anything, and I don't want that to be the case. So I may have to have some authorization for Peter or whoever I eventually have to do this work to get in there, even if she's not there, because she locked the place up and, took the keys and just not showing up.
You have a lease with her?
Yes.
Does the lease have a clause in it that allows you, as the owner, to go in?
I'll have to check that, yeah.
I would suggest you do that. I think
I'll have
probably
to-
most of them do.
I don't recall, but I may have to review the lease and see if there's any such clause.
It is true your tenant has been complaining to you a good bit about the conditions of her apartment, isn't that right?
No, mainly things in the apartment, like I said, the refrigerator, stove, something, I don't know what, this has never happened, something every week, to do with one of these things I'm talking about.
Well, you obviously have some serious construction problems you.
Well, I guess part of it was, this property was sold to us by, John Ackerson, Neil Turner Realty, and I know this is not part of this, but I guess it was based on trust. We purchased the property not knowing what the issues were with the property, and it's been one problem or the other that we'll have to fix. The roof has been replaced during the period we owned it, and I understand there have been some leaking issues. So it's just, if I tell you how much it has cost us over the years, fixing one thing or the other, it's been a nightmare. And that's why I said maybe it's time to, do something about it once and for all, because the whole purpose of purchasing the property is defeated.
So now, what's the relationship with you and your maintenance person right now? I know you said you weren't happy with him. Has he done any work for you since? What is the relationship now?
Well, I mean, it's good you said that, because when I tried to reach him, that when I came back, he wasn't responding to my calls or texts. Eventually, he now got back to me and said his truck broke down, those kind of things. So, and I asked him that question: are you still willing to work for me and do this work? He said yes, that he will do that. And so I know he was at the property on Monday, working on the wind from inside. Even the tenant upstairs confirmed that he was there. He told me he was going to be there. And he was supposed to go back today is Tuesday, maybe by Wednesday or Thursday, he's supposed to go back and finish up. But he made the commitment that he's willing to do the work. Part of the problem is that he hasn't been able to get into the house downstairs, which is the apartment downstairs, which is what led to all this.
And now, when you were out of the country, who is in charge of the property while you're gone? Is it him? Is it someone else? Who is in charge of making decisions on that property?
Well, we don't really have any maintenance person. It's just, what he does, what happens is that the tenants have his phone number, so if there's anything that requires immediate attention, so like a leak or something, then they'll call him, But he's normal. I don't pay him monthly, whatever fees or so for. It's just as a case-by-case basis that he does this work for me. And he has other people he's working for too, so sometimes he may not be able to get to a job right the same day or whatever the next day, but he makes effort to at least do it within a reasonable time.
Is this man working for you a licensed contractor? Does he know what he's doing? I mean, is he qualified?
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. I mean, I haven't had any reason to doubt his work. And
Do you know if he's a licensed contractor? Does he have insurance?
I suppose he must be licensed to. Yeah, I never asked to see his license or anything, but I can find out.
You're not very well protected as a homeowner if he's not insured and doing work for you. It's very dangerous.
He's an older gentleman. He does a good job, and he works for a number of people in town. So suppose he must be doing a okay job. Yeah.
We could probably check and see if he is Contractors Licensing Board. My problem with all of this is that majority of this happened before you left. You've come back and it's now February 23rd and nothing's happened.
Well, he's done some work, you know, even before then, and I think Mr. Brad can attest to that. He's done some work, and then, you know, he tried to plan it out, see what, you know, he can. It's just a number of things, you know, falling out of place, so to speak, and then his truck broke down, according to him, and he couldn't do anything for, you know, some extended period. And I was not around, so that's why I'm pleading to have, you know, a time frame to get this corrected, and you know,
Any thoughts, gentlemen?
Brad, update, bring me up to date what we mean here on the update paragraph where we mentioned $7,500 in per-day fines has accrued to date. Does that mean Mr. Emmanuel owes $7,500 right now on fines?
Well, he owes that in per-day fines that were levied by the board as of the last meeting, and in addition, he still has the $1,520.25 of citation fees that remain unpaid as well from the initial 3 citations.
Talking around $9,000 at this point in time.
Approximately, yes, sir.
You know, close to it, somewhere in that
Yes, sir.
ballpark.
Yes, sir.
Did you hear what I said, Mr. Emmanuel? That we're talking around $9,000 that you have a problem with right now?
well, I do hear that, but and that's why I'm pleading with the board. You know, I can't go into some personal issues that you know, have happened during this period for which this appears as if it's been neglected. It's not. There have been other personal issues that I've had to deal with during these last several months that I can't really discuss here. But I mean, I appreciate whatever can be done. If you could trust me and believe that, you know, if I promise you I will do it this time, that will be done. And if you could, you know, take my word for it, I will appreciate that. And I hope this will not happen again. I'm just trying to get out of this and not have to deal with this anymore.
Brad, what are the major things in your estimation that need to be done?
Source of the water leak, the interior water leak, whether it's coming from pipes or the roof or the holes in the wall that are obvious from the front of the exterior or the broken windows, I'm not entirely sure. But the first floor apartment has the kitchen, the living room, the hallway, and the bedroom all have active water leaks that are visible even when it's not raining. The drywall has fallen in. There's large pieces of the ceiling that have fallen down while the tenant's been living there, primarily in the kitchen and the bedroom. I think that those water issues, not only from a livability standpoint for a tenant living in there, but if I was the owner of that building, I'd want to make sure that my building didn't have water leaks in it. I mean, it's clearly becoming an ongoing issue. And then furthermore, the holes, the exterior holes on the outside of the structure, primarily around the bay window and then the window to the left of the front door, that are large enough you could probably stick 2 or 3 fingers in. I don't know what those back up to, but I'm assuming that those have over time deteriorated to that condition. I mean, as you can see in that picture right there, the window and the overhang and the untreated wood all the way around that window, I can only assume that there's water leaking in from there as well, because the building, I would assume, was not designed to not have that overhang extension collapsed. I mean, my assumption would be that that was part of the roof structure in order to carry water away from the building, and with that having been neglected and then collapsed and is no longer present, my assumption would be that water is also getting in through that window, since that's never been repaired or replaced. But again, water, I guess to answer your question, just with the simplest answer is to stop the interior water leaks that make the bottom floor apartment almost unlivable.
What about the top floor?
The top floor tenant has not been communicating with me. The tenant that did file this original complaint that I've been working with on this case has reached out to that tenant and spoken with her several times, trying to get her to contact me. She wouldn't give me her contact information, which I understand, but that tenant won't contact me. She said, and it's hearsay, but a few problems here and there, but I can't really explain those because I don't have anything to substantiate them.
Can I ask a question, please? Do you have a picture of the ceiling falling in? You said the ceiling are caving in the distance.
Yes, sir. I have
Because I'm
several
not
pictures of that. Yes,
aware
sir.
of any
Yeah.
ceiling caving in.
Tim will pull them up here. That we had them present at the last meeting as well. But bear with us here just a second. He can pull those up.
Mr. Manning, when was the last time you were in that apartment or the house?
About a month or so, a
Oh, a month
few
ago.
months ago, yeah. And I didn't see any ceiling caving in. And that was when I went to meet the tenant to find out when she was moving out, because she said she was moving out, but then she said she would get back with me, and that's the last time I heard from her.
The pictures you're seeing here are from the original NOV, I'm sorry, the notice of violation back from October, but Tim, if you go back one. Click that, see if they're, or no, do CENB day photos. See if they're in there. And again, these are the photos that were presented to the board last month, but this is the living room. You can see that leading into the hallway, there's a bow in the ceiling itself, as well as the cross member there that leads into the kitchen. You can see the evidence of water leaks along the right side of the wall there. You can see on the cross member there leading into the kitchen, the water leaks pretty much the entire way across the bottom of it, as well as I guess where it's leading down there where the drywall connects in the middle. This is in the kitchen above the back door where there's drywall that's falling away from the ceiling, or again, more evidence in the kitchen of water leaking and the drywall either having fallen away or is falling away. This was water that I guess it either leaked from the ceiling down into the wall or from the exterior of the doorway, that it's starting to rot away the door frame itself.
Excuse me, but go back to that picture, photograph. It's obvious that that's been there for a long time. That didn't just happen. That's mold in there and rot. Okay.
This is again still the kitchen. And I believe the next picture, the next two pictures, there's actually a hole in the ceiling that goes up past the drywall. I'm not entirely sure if that was water leaking or if that was intentional. It almost looks like the way that there's spackle around it, that maybe it was intentional. This is looking from the kitchen back into the living room. Again, you can see the bow in the left side of the living room wall, or of the ceiling there, and again along the wall where the wall and the ceiling meet, as well as a cross member on this side of it where you can see the water leaking. This is the bedroom, and this is primarily, Mr. Emanuel, where the tenant has complained that the water has caused part of the ceiling to fall in, which is evident by the next few pictures here, where there has been portions of drywall that have fallen in and again continue to fall in due to the active ongoing water leak. And this is obviously the bay window area, which again is where on the exterior I said that there were some exterior holes that you could put a few fingers in. This is the opposite side of the front door, though, where that overhang extension had collapsed. So,
Brad, can you find in your records, since you're in the cases now, can you find where I was assigned to this case previously? Did you show that one?
where you were assigned?
Yeah, it should be, it would have been before you. I say that to say this, when he comes up to the date. I worked this case before too, same issues, same things. So whether it's fixed and reoccurred, this has been an ongoing problem, much like you said, Mr. Simpson. So this is not something that's went away and got repaired and come back. It's just ongoing.
There was a case at the address that was initiated January 13th of 2014 and was resolved May 19th of 2014 by citation. That was 126 days. Complainant called and said that pipes had bursted in a downstairs apartment unit. The tenants were trying to contact the property owner and had left messages but were unable to make contact, and there was no water in any of the units on the property. There was also a complaint at the property July of 2014 for overgrown grass, and I believe the one that you may be referring to,
So the one of the citations is not mine? Okay,
David Herman's.
okay.
Excuse me for interrupting. Mr. Emanuel, did you own the property during this time?
What time, sir?
Did you own this property during 2014?
Yes.
Thank you.
The one you may be referring to, James, was April 19th of 2015 to June 15th of 2015. The complaint states that the tenant's boyfriend and she had been renting the apartment since October 2014. They'd had numerous issues with the landlord with upkeep of the property, windows that leak in all of the rooms, problems with cockroaches, the dishwasher leaking, air conditioners broken. They attempted to have a professional come fix it. The landlord called and canceled, saying he'd have someone come fix it, and they never did. Again, that's just the information given by the complainant on the initial call.
So he just gives you a little brief history. And I know we're not here for the historical part of the process, but it does come into play in this to some extent. And then also, even if, I'll give him the argument that the tenant has been out and locked the door, maybe not let him in. That's got nothing to do with the exterior of the apartment complex, to getting it done. He's had plenty of time to get that done, resolved, or at least started to do something with that. And we haven't seen anything to be done with that at all.
Have you called anybody or tried to use anybody outside of your maintenance person to fix these issues, or has he been the only person that you've been in contact with to make these changes?
Well, he's the one that he's always worked for me, and he knows this. So he's the one that handed this over to. But at this point, if I have to look for someone else to do that, I'm prepared to do that. I guess I trusted him. I said when the citation came, I gave it to him. So okay, this is something, and he had a copy of it. My understanding was that he called Brad, or he wanted to get with him, to have this thing maybe in phases or so. But I guess there must be some miscommunication there. I'm not entirely sure.
Are we ready for a motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we uphold the citation and make in fees with some adjustments To date, Mr. Emmanuel owes $9,320. I make a motion that we assess him citation fees of $4,500, and we extend the day-to-day fee by $150 per day until we have our next meeting. If at the next meeting, the home is in complete compliance, we will waive the $150 a day per each day, which would be totaling about another $4,500. So at that time, if everything is in compliance, he would owe $4,500. If not, he owes approximately $9,000.
Wait, let's go back. The citation is $1,520.25. Are you saying in addition to that, $4,500?
No, I'm saying the total, the two, I've got 1820. Do you have 1520? Maybe I'm looking at the wrong.
I just want to also clarify, gentlemen, that the citations, you wouldn't even have to bring the citation into it. It's already been upheld and it's all good to go.
All right, so,
Done.
Yes,
so
sir.
That's why I
that's a
asked.
part of the $4,500.
Yes.
So
the
we're
fif-
giving him a pretty good adjustment to
$3,000.
Yeah.
for the
yeah, the fi-
day-by-day
yeah,
fees.
Just the $1,520.25, that's a stat, that's set. So what you make an adjustment from there is up to you guys.
That would be
Yeah, it
roughly
would need to be on the per day
$3,000.
fines. We would just need to be doing the per day fines.
Right.
What's the per day fine now?
$150 a day. Because you're looking at some major cost to get this in compliance. I don't know anything about construction. Delane Simpson does and others, but these guys do, but I don't. But I know you're looking at some major cost. So you need to invest the money in that building and get it in compliance in order for you to get a major adjustment on your fines at the end of the next board meeting.
Why are we staying at the $145 per day versus the $300 per day? It seems like that's below what we're charging people anyway for fines. I mean,
Well, I'm just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt since he's facing some major construction costs just to get it in repair.
Can I ask a question for clarification? So the 7,500 right now, can we cut that down, or does that stand where it's at, and then we're just looking at the going forward per days?
Well, I cut it down.
Okay.
When you add the 1520,
That's
that's the
fine.
7,500.
Yeah, I was just getting clarification. So I was
Yeah,
wondering- okay.
yeah. We cut that substantially.
Just to clarify, that would add up to $2,979.75 in per-day fines on top of the initial citation and fees that are already upheld. So that would just be the board, I guess, levying a per-day fine from the last meeting to date of $2,979.75.
That's how much a day?
But it was $300 a day
That's
last
correct. That
month.
would be the full $7,500
Well,
if it was the $300 a day. So at $2,979 divided by 25 days, that turns out to be $119.19 per day fine instead of $300.
whatever the math is, I'm trying to give him a break.
All right, we've got the unpaid, 1,520.25. How much per day do you want to assess from that point? I think that's what they said, it was a per day.
Well, I was adding the 7,500 plus the 1,520 and coming up with a total of $4,500. Of that, 1,520 would be the fees that have already been, accumulated.
What you have is a 25 days at $300 a day, and that's the 7,500. The 1,520 was already
It's already done.
Yes,
done.
that doesn't need to be part of it at all.
Have to address the 7,500. If you wanted, if you reduced it to 150 a day, it would be 25 times 150.
I don't see that Mr. Emanuel has really worked sincerely the past 3 or 4 years since he's had the property with getting it corrected. Seemed like it's a constant reoccurrence, and I'm not sure trying to save him some money is going to help him resolve the problem at all, because he's had the problem and hasn't done a thing for it or with it.
I did. When we had when the water leaked, we spent over $5,000 fixing it. That was in January 2000, when they had the ice freeze, and so many homes had problem with pipes busting. Yeah, that cost us well over $5,000 to fix.
Does look like a very good piece of property to be owner of, Mr. Manuel.
That's exactly what I said, sir, that
Yeah.
it was purchased from John Ackerson and Newton Realty, and I guess ignorance is not an excuse, but he
Right,
sold it to
right.
us based on trust, and it's been one issue or the other. And I think we'll make the decision to do something about it soon.
That was my comment, Mr. Wilder.
All right, let's go back and see if we can make sense out of this. There's a $1,520.25. That's you owe that, and that's on the books. You understand that?
I do.
All right. The question we're talking about now is, number one, the per-day fine, and number two, how long does it run? And number three, how long do you have to complete the repairs? Is that correct?
But what I'm pleading with the board is if you could waive the per day fine and just give me 1 month to get this thing corrected. If it means going to bank to borrow some money and fix it, well, it's what I have to do. I think it's been.
Well, I think Dr. Wilder said he was prepared to suggest readjusting the $7,500 and going back to a fine of roughly $150 a day.
That's fine.
And then that would go from what date do you want it to go from?
Brad had those numbers, didn't you, Brad?
From the last meeting?
If you're wanting $150 per day from the last meeting to this meeting, that's 25 days. And that's $3,750.
That would go forward at 150 a day until it's done. If it's done by 30 days, then that part would be waived. Did I get that right? All right, you wanna say that again?
Would you go ahead and
All right. The $1,520.25 is due, and that's non-negotiable. Number two, the $7,500 in accrued per-day fines would be adjusted such that for 25 days, instead of $300 a day, it would be $150 per day, which totals $3,750. From this day forward, you have 30 days to complete the
28 days.
28 days to complete the repairs. If those are not completed to Brad's satisfaction, then it would be another $150 times 28 days. That's an appropriate motion. Now we need a second. All right, second?
Second.
Thomas, Dearbone, Deere,
Stain?
Simpson,
No,
Dearbone,
Yes.
Wilder,
Yes.
Thomas.
Understand all of that?
Suppose I do.
Okay. So you have to make arrangements with her for the $1,500.25. And Ms. Tabitha, what about the rest of it? When will the rest of it be due?
The $4,200,
No, the $3,750.
I will be putting that in the system tomorrow, so it's due immediately.
So $1,520.25 due immediately, and then sometime after tomorrow, closely after tomorrow, $3,750 versus $7,500. So Dr. Wilder just saved you some money, about half of it. The next 28 days, you have to complete the repairs, find someone to complete the repairs, work with Brad on inspecting. If that's not done, then it will be an additional 150 times 28.
And I'd like to remind Mr. Emanuel that the citations and notices of violations that are sent, as well as the findings of fact, go into great detail as far as exactly what needs to be corrected on the property. So if for some reason I'm not available the day that the maintenance person were to call, as he's saying may have been in the past, I don't believe that either if you can't go to the structure and see some of the obvious issues on the exterior of the structure, that all of the paperwork that Mr. Emanuel has said that he has received, that we have sent in citations and findings of fact, do clearly detail all of the things that need to be done.
Along that same line, will this property have to be evacuated to make the corrections that we're talking about?
I believe that Section 8 has issued a moving voucher for this tenant based on the ongoing issues here. I believe that Section 8 has stopped their payments as of February, as Mr. Emanuel had stated, that they paid January and not February, based on the ongoing failing, Section 8 failing conditions in the apartment. So they've issued a moving voucher for the tenant, and again, she had a death in the family, so she is out of town for that, but my understanding is when she comes back into town, she'll be using that voucher to move out of that apartment.
What I'm saying is that he may not have 28 days to do the work he's got to do. Is that understood?
On the interior, I believe, yeah. On the exterior, I think that there's still plenty that can be done in the meantime until she were to move out.
How about downstairs or upstairs?
Downstairs.
So is it my understanding that if we could get the exterior done before 28 days, that would be, the ball would be, if we can't get inside to do what needs to be done inside, we take care of the exterior.
I would check your lease, and I'm almost positive, they're pretty standard, that there is a clause in there that says that you have the right as an owner to enter the property for whatever reason. I think you try to notify the renters, but I'm almost positive that that is the case. It's a matter if she doesn't like it or does, it's not an issue. All right, thank you, sir. Next item is number 3, case 2015-3569. The address is 452 Webb Drive. Owner, James Satterfield. Brad?
At the last meeting on this property, the board had levied a $300 per day fine to run until the property was in compliance. On February 15th, I called Mr. Satterfield's phone number in an attempt to contact him and invite him to this meeting, again underscoring the severity of this situation and trying to find out what was going on with it. When calling that number, I was able to speak with I believe Lizzie May, which is Mr. Satterfield's wife. She was very helpful, took all my contact information. I discussed the property with her, as well as this meeting, the severity of the case at length. She explained to me that this property was Mr. Satterfield's father's house, which was left to him when he had passed. Mr. Satterfield, and again, this information is coming from her. I still have not spoken with him. But she said that he had wanted nothing to do with the property and told probate attorneys the same thing when going through the probate process when he passed. She states that the attorneys allegedly told Mr. Satterfield to just leave the property as it was. The quote that she gave me was, "Don't mow the grass, let the city mow it. Don't paint the house, let the city paint it, and eventually the city will just take it over." Ms. Satterfield explained that if she had her way, she would sign the paperwork to give the house over to the city and let it be used for fire department training or any city purpose because they have no use for it. I explained to her at length that if she or Mr. Satterfield did not want to have control over the property, this would be a good forum to show up and express that so that we could work with her, the board or the city, in order to take the house over or work with her in whatever manner that we could. I again gave them the date, the location, and offered for them to be present. As of today, as you can see by the pictures, nothing has been done to the property. The property has been mowed. The grass has been mowed continually for several years. We have cases that stretch back as far as 2011 with code enforcement, and per BGMU, the location has not had a utility service since March of 2013, thereby fitting the definition of vacant and abandoned. As of today, the case is at 187 days. There have been 3 citations which have already been issued and upheld, and the per-day fine of $300 has been active since the last meeting. And again, as you can see by the pictures, the house just continues to deteriorate. There's the protective treatment or paint on the exterior of the house continues to decay. It doesn't look like anyone's been to the house because all 3 of the citations that I posted back since, I believe, October are all still there, as well as phone books and mail that are piled up on the porch. The gutters have come unhooked from each other. There's also a large accumulation in the backyard of landscape debris, which the next door neighbor came up and complained while I was taking pictures that the backyard was in a state of, I guess, deterioration from not being upkept.
It's interesting, you said that according to the code definition of a vacant abandoned property, this fits.
It absolutely does, yes, sir. It has not had a utility service, has not had anyone living in it for over a period of a year, and currently does not have utility service to it, as well as has decaying materials or deteriorating materials on the exterior of the home.
We have the ability to condemn it.
It would have to go through another process of condemnation, but it can start. I think you can make, once you make the determination, it is abandoned, then you're gonna have to go through the process to do it. I tell you, Mr. Chairman, what I may do on this is, what I find with interest, if there's been an estate open, it's never transferred title, it's still, unless there's some survivorship deed, it's still in the name of this young father.
Mr. Broderick, I do have the title here. Mr. Harmon over at the legal department put this together, so I do have all of the.
Is it still in the estate name? Is it still in the deed?
No. Shows the current record owner of the property pursuant to a deed from Lawrence Satterfield dated September. Wherein Lawrence Satterfield retained a life estate in Charles Satterfield's half interest, and then goes on to list several persons who have a 1/16th interest who are current record owners of the property pursuant to a deed from Lawrence Satterfield dated in 1984. He passed away, Mr. Lawrence Satterfield did, May 5th of 2007. So our assumption is that the house has not been occupied since
I'm
that
sorry
time.
I asked with that many.
1/16.
1/16th interest is I'm gonna suggest that perhaps I get with Mr. Harmon and see if we can take some steps simply to get it condemned or foreclose on fines and which may be the quicker process, and report back to the next meeting. I don't know that you're, given the attitude and the status, I'm not sure we got everybody before the board at this point in time, if our man only has a 16th interest.
Just to clarify, he has greater than a 50% interest. There are just a few other, 1, 2, 3, 4,
I'm sorry,
5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like there's about 8 other people that have a 1/16th interest, and he has, I guess, a 51% interest in it. So he has at least a half or greater interest in the property.
What would probably happen to foreclose on it is you'd probably have to name the other people that had the 1/16. And it would probably be, at that stage, probably 1/32 from what you're telling me. But at any rate, I'll get Mr. Harmon and report back to you at the next meeting. I don't think there's another solution.
Have a motion to table this until next meeting.
I don't think we need to let this man off at all. He still owes the money. He owns 51% of the property.
I don't have, my suggestion would be to continue to run the fine, and then let's find out where we are at the next meeting. That will just keep the process going, so to speak.
That was, what kind of motion do we need? I don't see
I don't think you need a motion. I think there's already a per-day fine going.
Well, we have a choice to continue it at any number of days or just to let it
Would
run.
continue at 28 days and then.
All right, that's option number
work.
2. Okay, you want to make that one?
Whatever it was, I want to make it, yes. 28 days, continuing it, present, fine.
Okay, his
The
suggestion was,
next meeting,
I would like to make a motion to continue the per-day fine, the amount of $300 per day to run for a term of 28 days or until the next meeting.
Second.
I'm gonna go with Thomas on that, and Dearborn. Deer,
Yes.
yes.
Dearborn,
Yes.
Wilder,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes. Okay, in case number 4, let's see. Repeat offender, okay. We got schooled on this. By the way, that was very good instruction. We thank you for it. It cleared up a number of things. Would you mind going through it again?
Which part? Repeat offender?
Okay. First offender, repeat offender, Joseph Benjamin Harrison, James,
Actually, I am, if it's okay with you, I will just give you a little nutshell version of the repeat offender process.
James, your mic.
If you can hear me now, better now. But I'll just give you a short version of it. And basically, the repeat offender program was designed as a punishment and a deterrent to property owners, and they have typically a history of noncompliance to the city property codes and the property maintenance codes themselves. Basically, when you give a person a designation of a repeat offender, that's basically his punishment, and then, or his or her punishment, and then the potential increased fines or the deterrent. We find that works pretty well. If you go to the next, what we've done here is just kind of nutshell the ordinance itself to make hopefully a little clearer to read. But there are 3 categories that will actually determine someone to be a repeat offender. It could be any one of the 3, or it could be both. You know, you boast your case and have 2 or 3 of the 3, or 3 to the 3. But essentially, as long as they either have issued a 4th citation within 2 years period, or been issued a 3rd citation within 12-month period, or if they've been issued 2 citations within the 2-year period and no fines have been paid. So any one of those 3 qualifies someone to be a repeat offender.
I think we talked about and/or.
It can be, yeah, but by ordinance, I'm just reading it as by the ordinance. So, but you're right, it can be. You know, typically the repeat offender is up to the board, but typically it's designated to be a repeat offender for 12 months minimum, up to 24 months max. We talked about this in a short meeting before, but basically you see our current fee structure, and that'll explain the next bullet that you see here, and we'll be just about done. But basically what you're seeing here for structural violations and non-structural violations, that came up a meeting or 2 ago about how much fines typically are. And by code of ordinance, a first offense structural, as you'll see, is $150, and then the second offense, it doubles to $300 for a structural, and then the third offense, it doubles from the $300 to the $600. So, but typically after the 3rd citations, we'll bring the case to the board if it does not be resolved. And as you see, non-structural, same thing. When it starts off with just $100, it would double to $200 for the second offense, and then that 200 doubles at the third offense if it makes it that far to $400. But that's just to show you that basic fee structure. That comes into play for the last bullet there. And basically, the board has the authority to make a fine for a repeat offender up to $1,200. They typically, there is no minimum set, as you can tell in the ordinance, the way it reads, but that's why I showed you the third offense structural chart there. We already know that if they get a third or fourth or fifth citation, it's going to be $600. So typically, at minimum, the board in the previous historically anyway, has issued a $600 minimum fine, and but up to $1,200 at the will of the board. We don't really get into it a whole lot, but and we've never brought this to you. But if someone was a repeat offender, they had another citation, it got to that point, and we come back to the board and they want to contest it. At that point, you could actually double that fine if it's up to $2,400. We've never been there, never made it there, but that's just GY information for you guys. And then last tidbit of information. We wanted to reiterate to you guys, of all the repeat offenders that we've ever had deemed a repeat offender by the board, we've had not a single repeat offender. So once they've got their citation and or been at least deemed a repeat offender, they've never earned a citation. Have they had violations? Yes, they have. Have they gotten them fixed in a timely manner? They did. So they voided their citations, and they've always made it through up to this point. They've made it to the point of never repeat offending again. So the program works. We just want a nutshell version of this whole process, and hopefully that helps you.
I have a question. I brought this up the last time when we had the tutorial. This is a one-time fine. This is not per month.
Correct. Exactly right. So the way it would work is if you're a repeat offender, and I'm the repeat offender, and I violate to the point, again, it goes through the same process as notices, but it can anyway. But if I get another citation, I earn another citation, it's going to be wherever you've set it to be, okay? So that's the only time I get that. And that's why the fact statement comes up that you see on the board is nobody's ever made it that far. Nobody's ever got another citation, because they know that typically it's $600 minimum, what you've done before, that if I get another citation, it's $600, no matter if it's grass or tall weeds or what it might be. It's a violation's a violation, and it's $600. So we've never had anybody offend once they've earned that status. I hope that helped. So, that being said, on Mr. Harrison's particular property, we'll just give you the basics. And the basics of this case are, he's had 3 structural citations issued at 1247 Stubbin Street. They've been issued all last year from August, September, and November, or October. And then at 141 14th Avenue West, he's had 1 non-structural citation issued, and that was back in October as well. So Mr. Harrison is one of those unique individuals that has the I guess a dubious distinction of having qualified under all 3. So either one of them makes him a repeat offender.
Have these citations been paid?
No, that's what makes that third one viable. So he's had 4 in the past just few months, since October last year, or I'm sorry, since August of last year, he's had 4 accumulated.
Has he been in to appeal any of his citations?
No,
Do you
sir.
recall? I don't know.
These are all, again, when we bring these to you, these have been, we vet them, we look through our process and to make sure that, I mean, we wouldn't, if there's anything open, we wouldn't bring them before you. It has to be closed cases, and these are all been upheld citations and before the board previously.
I want to go ahead and make a motion to designate him as a repeat offender and set the future citation amount at $800 for a period of 24 months, as dictated by the ordinance.
Second.
Dearbone, Thomas. Deere.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Dearbone.
Yes.
Wilder.
Yes.
Thomas.
So I guess we didn't create anything new this time. Okay, the consent agenda, I think, remains. You have that in front of you. Do I hear a motion to accept as presented?
Motion to accept as presented.
Second.
Deere. Simpson. Deere.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Dearbone.
Yes.
Wilder.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes. I have a question on repeat offender on the third case we had here with the basically abandoned property. Why haven't we classified him as a repeat offender?
The case is still open.
Talking about Mr. Sadfield's property? Yeah, if they're an active case, we won't bring someone in front of you for an active case.
Thank you. Any other business to come before the board? Here, a motion to adjourn?
Motion that we adjourn.
Second?
Dearbone. Deere. Deere. Simpson.
Yes.
Dearbone.
Yes.
Wilder.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.